good.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving weekend. Everybody's getting recuperated from eating all that food.
We ate too much food.
We just had a little turkey breast. It wasn't.
Yeah. That doesn't stop me from eating too much food.
Yeah, I know.
So.
And I didn't make pie.
We did not have pie.
No.
Did have ice cream.
We did have ice cream.
But no pie.
So everybody hopefully had a great weekend, and it was lots of fun time spending with family, or Kylan and I just hang out with each other.
That's getting to become a habit, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. All right. Well, Rebecca, what is our topic today?
So today we're talking about, in essence, you can't give what you don't have. You've got to see the value in yourself to be able to add value to others.
Okay. You cannot give what you do not have.
Yeah.
And if you want to give value to other people, you have to see, grow, and continue to add to your bank account of value if you want to keep giving value to others, don't you?
To yourself, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's, how misunderstood do you think that is in the marketplace?
Oh, I think it's very misunderstood. I think a lot of people have an easier time giving to others and telling others what they need to do and giving them the value than taking it and looking at themselves of what they personally need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's easy to talk about what we need to do.
Yes.
Yeah. And here's the thing that I have found. I hear people all over the country like, I want to add more value. Our company adds value. We want to be adding more value to people all the time. Well, here again, you cannot give what you do not have. And what you have to look at is, what is value? What is value? Right?
Well, I think everybody values something different.
Oh, of course.
I think in the general overall, they want the same thing, but I do believe that.
But we can't give it the same way.
No.
People are uniquely different, and that means that they're going to deliver value uniquely different.
Right.
Right. So we have to understand that if we're going to deliver more value, we have to continue to be value able, the ability to deliver value. We have to continue to increase that if we're going to give more and more and more to the marketplace. Agreed?
Yep.
So one of the things that I've thought a lot about with this topic, and Rebecca, I'd love your thoughts on it. You know, when I see really, really successful people in life, and I see people who have gone to build great companies, who have gone to completely change industries, the one thing that they focus on is themselves more than they focus on almost anything else. Have you ever wondered why?
Well, just like we said at the beginning, you have to see the value in yourself to be able to give that to anyone else.
Warren Buffett made a comment that the greatest investment that you will ever make is the investment that you make in yourself. Nobody can tax it. Nobody can steal it. Nobody can make light of it. Nobody can take it from you in any way, shape, or form. The investment that you make in yourself is the greatest investment you'll ever make. And one of the things that he is known for in his office, you know, this guy has a master's degree from the University of Nebraska. He's got another degree from, I believe it's Creighton University. I mean, this guy is very, very well known. in that space, in the academic space. However, what hangs on his wall behind his desk is a accomplishment. It's just a completion certification that he went through a Dale Carnegie speaking course. That is what he gives credit to for his success. He gives credit to his ability to speak and communicate is what he credits his success to. Not all of the university degrees that he has. Now, I know he uses those degrees. He uses that information that he gained and gleaned as a college student. But he said the one thing that made him super successful was his ability to communicate and his ability to expand himself. Now, I've taken that thought that he gave us, and I've looked at so many other successful people, and the one thing that I've learned, they focus on developing themselves so that they can take on an opportunity that's higher than them today, right? If they want to step into an opportunity where they're going to lead a couple hundred people, they have to be able to develop their leadership skills to know how to manage that type of layer of person. And you don't get that opportunity when it's available. You get that opportunity when you're prepared for it. So if you want to add more value, you have to be able to scale yourself up so that you can scale that to more and more and more people. If you don't have the ability to scale yourself through more people, then your value that you can deliver is extremely limited. And that's why people like Warren Buffett would tell you the greatest investment you'll ever make is the investment you make in yourself.
Okay, so what does that mean? So what does that mean to invest in yourself, and what is it that you need to do to invest in yourself?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let me throw that question to you first, and then I'll put my 2 cents on it. How do you answer that yourself?
Well, we have a bookshelf full of books.
Yep.
About growing yourself, and even some of them that don't talk about that. There's something that you can take away with it,
yep.
Take away from it.
Yep.
And I've said it all day long. You can read those all day long, but it's the action steps afterwards.
Yep.
If you're in a position in your life where you don't want to be, or where you want something else or something more or something different, you can't just manifest it in your mind and it's going to switch overnight. It's something that you have to work towards and implement.
Mm-hmm. So here's one of the things that I'll add to that. You have to know what it is that you're going to focus on. Which means you have to have some kind of a vision in your mind of where you're going, what you want to become, what you feel you're called to do, what your future looks like. There's a lot of people out here in the world, and you and I have both met them, and you and I were those people for a long time, Rebecca, where we were just accepting our life and we were not creating our life, right? We were accepting what the world was throwing at us, but we were not creating it for us. And that's a sad element, because we are created to create. We are created to create. We've been given gifts, talents, abilities to go and do things with. And oftentimes we don't build those. We don't build those things. So I think the first thing is to know where it is that you're going. And then the second thing is to really hone in on the soft skills. This is what I think a lot of people make a mistake on too. They focus on mastering their job, but they don't necessarily focus on mastering who they are in that job. right? We don't focus on mastering the character of the person doing that job. We focus on mastering the job, which really limits our capacity if you think about it. I mean, it just limits our potential, right? If we focus on the character of the person and develop the person, we're preparing ourselves for the next level, because the jobs hopefully will change, right? If you're adding more value to people, your job is going to change. So you may not always master the job, but you have to master where you're going, who you're becoming in that future. That is extremely, extremely important.
Right.
Right? I mean, I take a look at my own life, I've broken 28 bones, I've had cancer, I've had all these other things go on. So to me, to do the physical work that I was doing out in the field, it just wasn't realistic for me. I could not continue to do the physical labor that I was doing for so many years. So learning how to do something else with my mind and do something else with my body was something I had to learn how to do.
Right.
Right? So we don't know what the world's going to throw at us, so we have to be ready to go to that next level. Now, what I've found is when I started to focus on what skills and talents I have, it totally changed the way that I develop myself. Totally changed it. Because as Warren Buffett said, communication is critical. It's absolutely critical. And I took that to heart many years ago, and communication has become a big part of my personal development. I drove truck for how many years and worked on the farm, and I didn't know how to communicate.
You knew how to talk to the cows.
I could talk to cows. That's true. And it wasn't very nice, by the way, the way I talked to cows. Pigs was even worse.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was very, very interesting to me that I had to find that value in me before I could add that value to other people. And I think that's where all the great successful people that I've learned from, that's what they've had to do, right? Because everybody's a person of value. Everybody's a person of value. There's not a person created on the planet, there's not a person out here who's not a person of value. So how do they develop that value?
Well, so that's the question I was going to ask you. For someone to and I don't want to say find their value, because they are valuable, but
That's right.
For someone to personally grow that, where do they start? What do you suggest they start?
So are you talking like somebody who's already in like a personal development plan, or somebody who's in this, or just getting started, somebody who's never really even thought about
Well,
this
let's talk about both then. Let's talk about the ones that haven't started yet.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about the ones who are currently, and where is another guidance that they can go.
Okay. Well, let's think about the person who has really never considered doing personal development before, who's never really thought about growing themselves to grow their own opportunities. Let's start with that person. Okay. First and foremost, you have to have, again, as I've mentioned before, you have to be able to see something in your mind that you want to pursue, right? You have to be able to see something. For myself, for an example, when I was farming and working on the farm, the one thing that I always wanted to be able to do, and I don't know why, I wanted to be able to sit at an executive board table and have a meeting with executives, because I'd never done that before. But it was an idea that I had living on the farm while I was milking cows, and I never really understood what it took to get there, right? So it was one of those things I had in my mind, and I could see it out there. I could see a vision of it, but I had no idea how to achieve it, right? To be quite honest with you, in my opinion, if you're going to start a personal development program, it's going to start with a internally built resource that many of us have forgotten how to use. That's our imagination. Our imagination. We have to be able to see something out there that we find valuable, And then we have to be able to look into that future and ask one critical question. Who is that person in that position? Who are they? And we have to answer the question of who that person is, not what do they do, because that part will come. But we have to ask ourselves, while we're using our imagination, who is that person? Who are they? In other words, how do they talk to other people? How are they seen by other people, such as their peers? How are they perceived in their industry or in their marketplace? How are they looked at? And it's not vanity. It is an imagination. It's a picture of who you want to be. That's a starting point. You have to be able to have a target out there of who you want to be. And that is extremely critical, right? If you don't have that target of who you want to be and where you want to go, you're not going to have anything to shoot for.
Right.
So that's the first step. If you've not done anything in personal development, that's the first step. Get out there and imagine it, see it in your mind, and then ask yourself, what do I have to do to become that person? What do I have to do to become that person? For me, when I was thinking about that executive boardroom and that executive table, I knew that one of the things I had to do extremely well was learn how to sell. I had to learn how to sell an idea. I had to learn how to sell myself, my team, because in my vision, I was leading a company of many people, and people would only buy our company if they could see that value. And I had to become very, very good at selling. It was one of the very first things I started in my personal development. So I started looking at all the selling programs out there. What are the things that they teach? And the mistake that I made is I started focusing on what do I do in the sales space? What do I do? And I focused on the processes, the systems, the CRMs, the all the other stuff out there. I got caught up in the what you do thing, which didn't hurt me per se, but it slowed my growth, because what I really found to be valuable is the leadership skills that go along with selling. That's what I really found to be valuable. When I learned how to overcome my fear, when I learned how to handle objections with verbal communication and body language, when I learned how to use my leadership and communication skills in selling, it changed everything for me. It absolutely changed everything. And that was the game-changing point for me. That's when I really began to understand what so many of these great leaders have done, is they have focused on their soft skills, not the hard skills, the soft skills that make them who they are, that addresses their character. That's when it changed for me. That's when it really took off for me. Does that make sense?
It does. And I will say, we talk about a lot about the beginning, but I do want to also touch on, you may be in a position in your life that you are full of joy where you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I do believe that personal development and growth is a continuous. I don't care who you talk to.
Yep.
I don't care. Even I find myself when we watch a movie or something together once in a while, there's always little nuggets of growth everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's something that you just continue to strive for every day.
So let's talk about that. If you're really, really happy with where you are, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. It's a great thing. If you're really, really happy with where you are, I think that's a great thing. You have found something that brings you joy, that brings you excitement, that brings you satisfaction. So being happy with where you are is an amazing thing, right?
Right.
But here's the problem. The world is always changing. So the things that you're doing today that are making you happy may not be available tomorrow.
No, that's true.
If the world is changing and it's not available to you tomorrow, then what do we have to do? You're going to be a lot more secure in doing what you want to do the more you grow yourself and prepare for, what if the world changes something and I no longer get to do what I do where I'm doing it? What if your company goes out of business? What if you're forced to move? What if something happens in your family that you're forced to do something different? If we are growing ourselves at a personal level and we're increasing our value, we're going to be ready for those changes. Because how many times in the last 10 years have we seen people that are forced into changes that they didn't want to make?
Right.
We see this all the time. Look around the world. It is full of people being laid off, people being in accidents, being injured, and not able to do what they do. Even if it's just minor stuff, it just happens all the time. So how do you prepare yourself for whatever comes? That's probably the biggest reason that personal development is so critical, is you just don't know what tomorrow holds.
Mm-hmm.
And the only guarantee that you have that tomorrow, regardless of what happens, the only guarantee you have that tomorrow will be better is the work that you put into yourself today. It's the only guarantee you have.
Oh.
That's all you got.
I don't need Confucius. I have you.
Confusion you need?
No,
You mean? Oh, okay.
Confucius, yeah.
Well, it's fun.
I have you.
It's fun. All right. Well, I think we only have one person on in our participants with us on Zoom. We have David with us. David normally has something that he likes to share. So, David, are you with us? You available to share this morning?
The Orbison's wardrobe.
Yeah. What's that?
With the all black on.
Yeah.
I know, we kind of blend with the...
Yeah. Yeah, we're blending with the territory.
Yeah, I guess one of the things that sort of struck me as you were talking, was allowing yourself to actually feel that development. And so for the longest time, I kind of felt that I wasn't worthy. And I guess more recently, sort of think, well, yeah, I am worthy in terms of expertise and that sort of thing. The way other people, I didn't view myself the way other people tend to view me, and allowing yourself that, I guess, latitude to say, yeah, maybe I have reached a certain level in my professional career. It's just felt for a long time that people were talking about somebody else, not me. But yeah, that's something that I guess I've learned in this job, that is sort of allowing yourself the ability to sort of grow into a role and stretch your wings a little.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Think about yourself, though, David, how much you had to develop over the years to become the person that you are today. And even with some of the goals that I know you have today moving forward, you're going to have to continue to focus in on those skills even more to lead the level of people you're wanting to lead, right?
Sure. And yeah, you do have to sort of stand back and look at the bigger picture, I think, because the longest time sort of you're in the forest and you can't see the forest. It just looks like a bunch of trees, and you kind of stand back and look at where you are and sort of take get some perspective, think, sort of, so you can know where you are on that journey as well.
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
I know one of the things that's also difficult is, there's a lot of times that people see things in me that I don't see myself, like you said, seeing the trees. And to me, it's just getting the job done or getting what I need to have done. But, Kylan's very good about telling me that I did an amazing job and it looks great, and it's very, I guess for me it's humbling, because there's times that I don't see that. I just feel like, well, I had to get that done because that's what needed to be done. But it's because I'm good at that part. And sometimes it's hard to see.
I mean, I feel exactly the same way. It's sort of just feel like, hey, that's just part of my job. But then when you stand back and you look at, what you've achieved, whether it's a small thing, a small task, or a big, a body of work, if you do stand back and look at where you've come, you can sort of be proud of that and take stock of that as well. It kind of gives you fuel for moving ahead, because I don't think we do that enough, is take stock of, stand back and look at the overall journey and know where you are on that journey. Because quite often it feels like a hard slog, but sometimes you don't realize that you're further into it than you give yourself credit for.
Absolutely. David, you just touched on something there. It's so critical that you look back and you give yourself some of that credit, like you said, because that's what drives your internal motivation. It's going to drive your internal confidence. It's going to be when you're reflecting on yourself the right way, you're giving yourself credit for what you do. I think we've, as a culture, we've almost said that it's more humble. You're too egotistical if you take your own credit. But at the end of the day, how do you build motivation? Self-motivation, self-inspiration. How do you inspire yourself and motivate yourself to go to the next level without giving yourself encouragement?
Well,
it's a fine line. Sometimes people do embellish their accomplishments and fall back on that. So you don't want to go that direction. But I think for a lot of us, we're too just the general humble nature. You sort of don't give yourself enough credit. And, so it's important to take stock.
Well, and I think sometimes we need to examine where that kind of comes from.
Yeah.
I know things in my past and my history is, somebody has said something someplace that was negative, or somebody has said something that that's good, but, and those little voices ring in your head, and so that's when you do things like that. Those are the things that you hear. When Kylan and I get into a heated discussion,
discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
There's all of the encouraging and the great things that he said about me all the time. If there's one negative that comes up in this discussion, that's sometimes what is focused upon. So thinking about motivating yourself, you got to look back to maybe what is it that maybe that demotivated you at some point in time, and realize that there's things that happen in history that somebody was having a bad day, so they took it out on you, but that's things that ring in your head.
Yeah. Well, and that's why being self-aware of yourself. You just mentioned something that's really good for leaders to think about too. How many of us as leaders, myself included, I've done this with you, how many of us have gone and said, well, man, that's really amazing, but boom, 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 and then we talk about the other side of it. A better way to handle that, and this again is a great way to think about your own personal development if you're a leader. You can look at it and say, hey, that was really amazing. What do you like most about it? If you're talking to someone else, it's one of the people you're leading. What do you like most about that? What would you improve on it? What would you do to make it better? And because if you're developing your people the right way and you're leading people the right way, they're always willing to go to that next level. We don't have to say, that was really good, but I do this, this, and this. We need to be able to say, that was really amazing. How do you feel about it? How is it making you see, how do you see it now differently now that you've done that? What would you do differently if you were to do this over? Right? And it's a way for the individual to see more potential in it, or maybe to come up with changes. But the other thing is, from the leader's perspective, when the leader asks those kind of questions instead of giving their own experiential advice, they start to come up with ideas that, maybe this person seeing it different than I see it can actually make it better. They can make it better than I ever could have. From a leader's perspective, that's what you're looking for. That's how you find strength in your teams. That's how you find strength in others. That's how you grow and develop other leaders, is by actually giving them the ability to make those decisions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And make those changes, recommended changes on their own. So, well, Rebecca, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
We've had a great discussion. David, thank you for your feedback in this discussion. It's been great. Is there any other things you want to talk about here? We're already over our time, and want to respect people's time on a Monday.
No, it's building and working on your personal development and growing your personal development.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard because you have to do that self-evaluation, but at the end, it's worth it. It's worth it.
It's a challenge, but like you said, it is very much worth it. Do you know
And-
what our topic is for next week?
So no.
Yeah,
What is?
no. Do you know what it is?
No.
You don't know what it is. Okay. We're going to be posting about our topic for next week. Rebecca's got a whole list of things here that we're doing over the next several weeks, but we haven't looked at it this morning since we're traveling. So we'll be in touch. Watch your social media posts, watch your emails, and we'll be in touch on what our topics are next week. But we greatly appreciate you guys jumping in here. We had a good audience this morning on our live stream, so thank you for being a part of that with us. We do enjoy engaging with you guys. We look forward to meeting with you at a live event sometime. Maybe it's one of our events or an event that we can meet up at mutually. I would love to just reconnect with so many of you and find ways that we can add value to each other. So that's really what I have for you today. So
Yep. Have a great week, you guys. We'll see you next Monday.
Yep. Sounds awesome. Thank you all. We'll have a great one.